Welcome to Bike World. We're here at the London Bike Show. I've lost Chris already. He's off stroking some bikes somewhere. While I go and find him, why don't you take a look around? Now, I got an A in A-level art, and I like to think that I'm not that bad at painting a picture until I met this guy, Steve Wyman. Steve, these are so good and detailed that they look like photos.
Yeah, that's often the problem actually, because people think they are photographs, which tends to make people sort of walk by past the stand a little bit. So that's why you see these little signs that says these are paintings, not photographs.
So tell us a little bit about the process.
The process starts with me. The difficult thing is me to decide what to do, which rider to do. Mainly these days it's nearly MotoGP, most of the time these days, because that gives us a worldwide market. That's not to knock British superbikes or world superbikes, but that's just the commercial sort of side of things. So it tends to be MotoGP mainly. That's where my love is, and that's where my love has always been. So once you've decided on a rider, then you're looking for a particular pose or a particular picture. And rather than just copy a photograph, we look through various professional photographers that I deal with, the names that you're familiar with, and then we'll buy a particular picture that I like the look of. And then we start by changing that photograph. So none of these pictures are actually photographs. None of them are a copy of any photograph. You won't find these as a photograph anywhere. That's where we put the artistic sort of slant on things. We pay for the picture. The photographer will be credited with that image, and then, like I say, we'll change it. So we'll alter the light, the colour, the angle slightly, or whatever. And
what materials do you use? The colourful ones, is that a spray art?
Yeah, all the colour pictures are done with an airbrush. I use about 4 or 5 different airbrushes, all quite expensive. Hundreds of different types of paints, acrylic paints, and it's just a long, slow, laborious process of using a lot of masking film, a lot of scalpel. I spend more time with the scalpel than I do with the airbrush. Cutting little pieces out, quick bit of spray, move on to the next bit. It's like assembling a jigsaw puzzle in a sense.
I was going to say, how long does it on average take to do a picture? I can't imagine you just bash it out in a few hours.
No, it's very difficult to quantify, because if the sun's shining, you tend to go out on the bike, and if it's raining, you tend to do more. But generally, I would say between 6 and 8 weeks for a picture. And it's the same for all the black and white ones are done in pencil. And again, it's a similar length of time, really, 6 or 8 weeks.
Now, you're actually giving us a picture to give away as part of our competition. Yeah. Do you know which picture you're going to give us yet?
I'll give you the Valentino Rossi picture up there, which is the 2013 picture. Again, it doesn't exist as a photograph anywhere, so I don't think you can see it as a photograph because it doesn't exist as one. So that will either be a canvas or a frame print, whatever the winner wants, really.
Well, I'm sure our viewers are very excited about the prospect of having that on their living room wall and admiring it every day. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Steve, for chatting to us.
Thank you.
Chris, I've been looking all over the show for you, and here you are in the adventure area with a BMW shirt on. You've not left us at Bike World, have you?
I've not left you, I wouldn't dare. No, I've escaped to Wales. I've been working for Simon Pavey down on the off-road skills school. Bit of stuff up in the mountains, trees, flowers. It's brilliant.
So your injury's not held you back then? How is your injury?
Yeah, the moving house wasn't so good. I did a lot of sitting still. I've got a lot of favours that I owe now. But yeah, no, it's doing all right. I'm walking, so.
But you are still working with us here at Bike World, and also this is a great opportunity for me to come back and do my level 2, 3 and 4.
I thought you might find some off-road in it. Yeah, still you guys at Bike World. I couldn't leave you. But yeah, off-road Wales, come down.
Fair play.
So Suzuki have been a little bit quiet the last couple of years on the sports bike scene. Obviously in the adventure bikes they've had the V-Stroms coming out, they've had the new big V-Strom 1000. So, but sports bike wise, we've not seen what we've expected from Suzuki. And really, these were the masters of the thousands class, the GSX-R 1000, the S-Rad GSX-Rs back in the 90s. You know, that's a core part of Suzuki and bikes we all grew up loving. Excitingly for us, we've got the new GSX-S1000 coming this year, and it's exciting times for Suzuki, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah, it is. I mean, 2015 is quite an exciting year for us. We've got 7 new models in total. GSX-S1000 is perhaps the most exciting of those. Basically, this bike is designed as a street sports bike. It's got the heart of GSX-R, GSX-R1000 engine, but it's got more of an upright riding position, so it's definitely designed for the street.
So is it an all-new package, you know, new chassis, or is it borrowed bits, or?
Yeah, it's all new, so it's a completely new chassis that's been designed particularly for this bike, and it's designed to handle as well. It's lighter than the current GSX-R1000 frame, and the swing arm unit is borrowed from the GSX-R1000 as well.
And in terms of track performance, is it aimed at kind of a split as well, or is it a step away more into the road riding?
It's predominantly for the road. I mean, you'll obviously get guys, I think, that will want to take this bike out on track, and with that engine it should be really good fun for that, and it's got the Brembo monoblock calipers, traction control and ABS as well, so suited to road and track probably.
Perfect. And I have to ask the big questions. We need some numbers. So what sort of power are we talking?
Power figures still to be confirmed, I'm afraid. So what I can tell you is that this engine is derived from the 2005 GSX-R1000. So that made around 165 horsepower. So hopefully we'll be looking something near to that, but obviously tuned slightly more for bottom end torque for the street.
And have we got a rough price yet?
Yeah, so again, pricing still to be confirmed, but we're aiming to bring in the base model, which will be a naked bike, non-ABS, for just under £9,000.
Bargain. Get us on one.
This area here is celebrating 20 years of Valentino Rossi in GP racing, and who better to talk through his favourite bikes than Toby Moody?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I was there for a lot of these races, wasn't I? This is the 1997 125cc World Championship winning bike, his first World Championship. I'm tingling already, great memories, you know. It was 1997, he was just a 17-year-old kid. He won the championship in Brno. By the time I got out the commentary box after the 500 race, I went to try and find him, and the mechanic said, oh, he's in the back of the truck, and I opened the back of the truck, and there he was fast asleep. I think he'd had a bit too much booze and maybe some other stuff as well. Good times, good times.
Oh my goodness, that's an exclusive, I think. So let's move on to your next favourite, Toby.
Yeah, just a couple of years later, he was then winning the 250cc championship, and this is another special bike that I remember. It was at Mugello in '99. It was the love and peace kind of Austin Powsy, hippie dude kind of bike, and it just suited Valentino because by now, his 4th year in Grand Prix racing, he was almost bigger than the guys winning the 500 race. He'd really arrived.
Also goes with that the other stuff.
Yeah.
Toby, I know you're finding it really hard to pick your favourites, but you said we have to do the Repsol Honda.
Totally. You know, it was a groundbreaking motorcycle, a V5 990cc bike. It took the world by storm. The 990cc era from 2002 through to the end of 2006 was, for me, the best era. It was just groundbreaking. He dominated for those 2 years that he was with Repsol Honda, and it still is today, in my view, the best motorcycle that's ever been raced on any racetrack anywhere in the world ever.
So next you've picked the Ducati Desmo Stradicci. Why this one, Toby?
Well, it's not a highlight, is it? It wasn't really very good for those 2 years, but it was a moment where Valentino maybe realised it's not plain sailing all of the way, but it's still a Ducati. It's still got that fluorescent red about it, the carbon fibre, and still a lot of people gravitate towards this bike. I think it changed Valentino, and speaking to a lot of people, they agree, before he then went back to Yamaha to then go on to win some more races. It was a moment where he realised, okay, I've got to change my approach, but still doing 200 miles an hour whilst it's standing still, isn't it?
And finally, we end up at the Fiat Yamaha.
Yeah, well, it is the iconic livery for Valentino, really, isn't it? It's the one that everybody remembers, and for me, this is the 2008 bike. He won the World Championship at Motegi in Japan, in the backyard of Honda. I saw some of the mechanics the day after, on the Monday morning after the party, you know, hardened Australian mechanics who've done it for a very long time, and even they said the party was utter carnage when he won the championship. Bottles everywhere, they were sweeping the booze off the floor. It was just fantastic days, and Valentino really was in his pomp at this particular era. He'd just taken the championship away from Casey Stoner, who was a bit wounded at that point. Rossi was back. This for me is the iconic Rossi livery. It's a very close nose ahead of many of the others, but this is the one.
Whenever I'm on the King's Road in London, I always head into Urban Rider because, Will, you've always got some really cool new things to look at. This modern classic range, or modern retro as all the new kids are calling it.
Yeah, well, all the manufacturers have realised that a lot of people now own retro modern bikes. So the Ducati Scrambler, Triumph Bonnevilles, and a lot of the kit that's out there isn't designed necessarily to go with that style of bike. So we now stock a really big range from manufacturers like Bell, Biltwell, Hedden, Davida. They make products that have a classic style but are using the latest material technology, and so you get safety and it looks fantastic with your bike.
So tell us about these retro helmets up here from Bell, the Bullets I believe they're called. They look so cool.
Yeah, the Bullet, it's a little bit like something out of Space Odyssey, but it's a fiberglass shell, and they've just released a carbon fiber version of it in beautiful different colorways. And this is a modern Venturi vent system in it as well. It'd be fantastic with a Thruxton or a Bonneville. And Bell, obviously one of the world's biggest manufacturers. Then you come through to Biltwell, which actually at the moment they don't have a UK Road Eagle version, but a lot of people use them in private land. The Biltwell, which David Beckham wore one, which I may say he got from us. He wore that in his BBC documentary in Brazil.
So what sort of price range are we looking at for these retro helmets?
Typically the slightly higher end of the market. So the Bell Custom 500 open face is a fiberglass that starts at 130, and then you go up to kind of 250 to 300 for the full faces, right up to the £400 for the Bullet Carbon.
Now, Will, I can't not mention the R80 that you've got on display here, and this was built especially for the London Bike Show, wasn't it?
That's right. We've done one R80 before, and this was built for the show with a lovely oxblood red leather theme to it, and we're hoping it's going to find a new owner at the show.
How much is it?
£10,000.
Okay, that won't be me then, but it looks good. I love it. 2015 is the Tri-Options Cup run the Ducati 899 Panigale solely, and it's great to be able to chat to one of the teams here from True Heroes race team. Murray, you're one of the riders. Tell us a little bit about the team.
Well, basically 3 years ago we formed a team, and it's an injured servicemen's motorcycle race team. We got the idea, we thought, because I had a love for bikes, and then in 2010 I was involved in an IED, and I then got to meet a guy called Phil Spencer. He thought it'd be safer for me to ride on the track at 160 mile an hour than riding on the road at 30 mile an hour.
So you had a couple of years in the Triumph Triple Challenge. Now you're heading out in 2015 on the 899 Panigale. You haven't actually ridden it yet, have you?
No. As we got onto the Panigales, trying to figure out how everything fits onto the bike and then get it all working is just taking a bit longer, and hopefully we'll be out on track soon to start getting some testing before the season.
So how has the bike adapted for you?
Well, basically you had two of the controls on the foot pegs. You had the gear change and the back brake, and the way we've compensated that is to put it all up onto the handlebars. So now I change button on a button which works an electronic piston that does the gear change, and then the back brake is just a rear thumb lever brake. But to be honest, I don't use the back brake anyway, so it's just there for scrutineering.
And you don't have any additional help, do you, on the bike? Any additional aids? You want to be seen just as another rider out on that grid?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the key thing for me is that my bike is the same as everyone else's. I don't want anyone to say that I'm at an advantage. I mean, for them to say that I'm at an advantage anyway, well, they might want to look down at my legs, but the big thing for me is that I'm competing the same as everyone else. To go against able-bodied people and do the same as everyone else, that's all that I want to do. We got two riders that have both been injured out on operations in Afghanistan, and the newest rider to the team, he's a veteran. He's just retired after 22 years of service. And then alongside that, with the support team, we got all the mechanics that are injured guys, ranging from amputations to one guy who's got only use of one arm, the other arm's paralysed, and just other injuries like back injuries, hearing injuries, and all that sort of thing.
We love an MT-09 here at Superbike and Bike World. It's an absolutely cracking fun bike that Yamaha brought out a couple of years ago now, Jeff?
The MT-09 came at the end of 2013, so it's almost 18 months old now.
There we go. It feels like it's been out a long time. We've done a lot of riding on them at Superbike. We had one on long-term test. We actually liked it so much we bought it. And we've always kind of felt that the MT-09 had some potential as a sports tourer, as a bike to go a bit further on. But the standard one's quite aggressive, no screen, gets a bit tiring after a few hours. And just when I was thinking about doing that to our MT-09, Yamaha bought us the Tracer. Jeff, tell us about it.
Saved you a lot of time. Yeah, the observant people will have spotted that on the original MT-09, the lugs for the fairing were already there. So this was always part of the plan. This was developed alongside the MT-09 development. And basically, it's taking the MT-09 to another level. It's a do-it-all bike. So you can have a lot of fun, scratch around, and then go to the south of France the next day. So it should do everything.
Talk us through the changes as well. We've got a bigger tank, bit of fairing.
Yeah, of course, the obvious one is the fairing. So it's got a lot of protection, it's got an adjustable screen, it's got new instruments with a digital display. For instance, if you put on heated grips, they can plug in and be read on the instruments. So another level really of instruments. Tank is now 18.5 litres, so it gives you a good range. The seat is adjustable, much bigger pillion seat as well with built-in pannier holders, so we're expecting some touring potential from it. Handlebars are wider and they're also got adjustability forward and backwards, so a much more relaxed, probably a more upright riding position. Tweaks also to the ignition, so it's got a different ignition map to the MT-09. Also tweaks to the suspension, so we're expecting a lot of two-up work, panniers maybe as well, so stiffer suspension. So all in all, quite a sophisticated and sort of progressive development from the original one.
And a big price to go with that, or is it only a slightly more expensive?
Well, we think it's fantastic value. This one is 8,149, and that includes ABS and traction control.
Sounds like I'm going to be buying another one before long.
At this show, you can always guarantee that there's something exciting happening in the main arena. With this guy, Toby Moody, some people may call it carnage. What's happening here this year?
It's not been too bad actually on the carnage front. It's called Slides. We've got 6 guys from all over the world with all sorts of different skills. We've got John McGuinness, we've got Kenny Noyes, Superbike champion from Spain, and he's a dirt track expert. Aid Collins, 4 times British flat track champion. Stalker Walker, Whittam, and Taylor McKenzie as the kid, as the youth, and they're sliding around, and you sort of think, well, what kind of a show is it going to be? It's going to be a bit flat. It's hugely exciting because they're so close, and if you watch some of them, they're literally 3 or 4 inches from the back tyre of the guy in front for, well, 5, 6, maybe even 10 laps during the final. It's great fun. And the other thing is, there's no specific good line, so there's chopping and changing. You could lead into the last corner and lose it by the line.
It's Whittam who wins ahead of Noyes and Walker. James Whittam victorious here at
This bike here is the new Kawasaki Vulcan S, and Kawasaki is saying that it's not a cruiser in the traditional sense of the word, but it's an urban cruiser. So I headed out on the launch to find out more. I'm here in the south of Spain in a little town called Vera, next to a pool again. I'm here for the launch of the all-new for 2015 Kawasaki Vulcan S, a bike that's bridging the gap in the Kawasaki range, not only adding to the Vulcan family, but also making that range even more dynamic and more vast. I first saw this bike when Martin Lambert, who's the head of communications and PR for Kawasaki, sent me a picture saying, now this bike would suit you. And I thought, that looks comfy. It's not got loads of chrome, which gets the big thumbs up from me, but does its performance match up to its tough look? Well, it's got the 650 parallel twin engine that you'll see in the ER6 and the Versys, but it's been reworked to give it more low to mid-range torque. In the UK, ABS is standard and it's got Nissan brakes on the front and the rear. And the suspension is adjustable on the rear. In fact, it's the same suspension layout that you'll see on the Versys and the ER6. The front suspension isn't adjustable, but we've got to remember that this bike is set up for new riders and bikers that just want to ride. Kawasaki's Ergo Fit means that one bike really does fit all. The foot pegs are adjustable into 3 different settings. You can do that easily yourself. There are 3 different comfort fit seats and 3 easy reach handlebar options. A reduced reach, a midi reach and an extended reach. This could be the first bike where you go to your dealer and they get their tape measure out to measure the inside of your leg. In terms of the cockpit, you've got quite a lot going on. You've got the fuel gauge, the digital speedo, clock, range, dual trip, and that's got loads more than my Harley 883 had, things that are important when you're doing long journeys. The Vulcan S comes in 3 different colours, matte black, white and purple. The Vulcan S is very reasonably priced. If you buy it before April the 1st, you can get it 150 quid cheaper at 5,949. And that's another way of attracting new riders. Okay, so what's it like to ride? Well, I haven't got a lot of experience on cruisers or urban cruisers, but I did have the Harley, and what I like about them is that you've got your feet flat on the ground, the centre of gravity is low and you feel in control. The brakes are reassuring, which is great, they're not bitey or intimidating. So I did ride the Versus 650 just a few weeks back, and as I said, the Vulcan S has got the same 650 parallel twin engine and it's been reworked to give it more low to mid-range torque, and I found that that really has worked. It has, it's got a smoother power delivery, a lot of grunt in those low to mid-range revs, which again is perfect for urban city commuting. In terms of suspension, it is set up for new riders. I found it a little bit hard, but then I was taking the speed bumps quite fast. That's from my motocross days. To fit in with the Vulcan S slogan, your way, there are loads of accessories planned for it, so you can personalise the bike to make it look like your own. It's got an underslung exhaust that looks beefy, but it doesn't sound as good as it could. But then, is a 650 parallel twin ever going to sound as good as a conventional cruiser?
One of the great things about coming on a launch is that they bring you to beautiful, scenic places like this. I mean, the sun is shining, the sky is blue, and it's the beginning of February. Now, if I wasn't enjoying riding this so much, I could quite happily put my bikini on and sunbathe.
A cruiser wouldn't be my first choice of bike. I mean, I live with the Harley and I just prefer a bit more of an upright riding position. However, if I could afford a second bike, I would love a cruiser because it's just a laid-back style of riding that sometimes you want. But what I would say is that the Kawasaki is more usable than other cruisers. It's smaller, it's lighter, more agile, which fits that urban cruiser genre.